All right, our guest today is a Pittsburgh native, an MLB veteran who's going into this year would have been his 17th year. He's played for home team Pittsburgh Pirates, currently on the Philadelphia Phillies, the Miami Marlins, Milwaukee Brewers, New York Mets, New York Yankees. Neil Walker. Neil, thanks for joining us.
Guys, thanks for having me on. That was a long list. I'm sorry you had to read all that.
We love it.
No problem. No, man, your resume speaks for itself, and it's an honor to have you on joining us today, man.
Thanks for hopping on, Neil.
I appreciate it. Thank you, guys.
Absolutely. We'll kind of get started right into it with the first question, and going back to when you got drafted back in 2004 by the Pirates, drafted as a catcher, and being a player in the major leagues right now who hasn't played in a major league game as a catcher, kind of wanted to touch on that, because in 2007 is, if I'm correct, when you made the move to more of a infield position, third base, and then when you got in the majors, made more of a transition to second. So I kind of wanted you to touch on that a little bit. Were you always kind of bouncing around positions, or grow up a catcher and then just made that transition in pro ball?
So, yeah, when I was young, when I was, little league and middle school and whatnot, I played mostly shortstop and some first and a little bit of third, mostly on the dirt. Didn't catch much. When I got to high school, I was fortunate enough to make my varsity team as a freshman, but the caveat was that I would have to catch because there was a kid that went on to play college ball and pro ball that was playing shortstop, and another kid that was another infielder that was playing that was pretty good. So I got passed by for the infield gig my first year, and then I ended up really enjoying catching and kind of wanted to go down that road. And when I realized that, hey, maybe I can play at the next level, I thought, well, what's better than switch hitting and catching? So I kind of stayed on that path, and like you said, I was drafted as a catcher and caught for 3 years professionally. The Pirates asked me to change positions and go play third, which I was at first a little hesitant about, because I still kind of felt like, if I can hit, I can get to the big leagues pretty quickly as a catcher. But they framed it as like, look, we have a huge need at third base. We think you can handle it, and we think that you can obviously handle the bat. And I said, okay, let's do it. And I was in AA, played 1 year there, went to AAA, and really struggled for pretty much 2.5 full seasons, really. And within that time, Pedro Alvarez was drafted number 2 overall by the Pirates out of college. So his track was pretty much right to AA, I believe, maybe high A, AA, but he shot up through the system. And here I am in AAA trying to crack the big leagues, and he's breathing down my neck, and I'm going, oh, geez, probably going to have to change positions again. So the end of 2009, I cracked the big leagues as just a third baseman, and then the following year went in, and I was playing left, right, first base, second base, third base, and even like strapping on the gear and catching bullpens and stuff. And I was like, oh boy, it's going to be a lot of work. So and went back to AAA that year, 2010. Played really, really well the first month and a half of the season, and basically was playing left field and first base and a little bit of second. And all of a sudden, the second baseman up in the big leagues wasn't playing so great, and they were ready to make a change. And they called and said, "Hey, you're going to the big leagues, but you're playing second." And I was like, "Excuse me?" I literally had played like probably 12 to 15 games at second base, and I spent the entire season from the end of May through the entire season, like praying that the ball didn't get hit to me at second base. So there's some valuable lessons lying in there somewhere, but obviously the main lesson is don't be afraid to expand your horizons as a baseball player. But more than that, like preparation is truly the most important thing. So even if you don't think you'll ever play outfield, it doesn't hurt to go shag fly balls and power
Right.
shag, or every once in a while, if you only play middle infield, go take some balls at third, go take some balls at first, because you never know sometimes when that opportunity is going to rise.
Absolutely. I didn't realize that was your story of how you ended up at second. And second's not really the easiest, like, hey, jump in and play, because there's coverages, there's cuts. You got to be, it's not the easiest. So that's pretty impressive. I got a question for you, more so on the offensive side of things. So you've been a guy, like Mick said, you've been a part of quite a few organizations. When you go to a new organization, or switch from one to the next,
Mm-hmm.
and talk about how different organizations have different offensive approaches, because I'm sure going from like the Pirates to the Mets was a totally different switch. And did it mess with you? Did it help you? Just stuff like that.
I was lucky in my career that when I went to another organization, I already had about 6 years in the big leagues. So I was at the point where I really felt confident in what I was doing, but I also was able to make certain adjustments.
Yeah.
And but you're right. When I was with the Pirates, our MO was less power, and it was more, there were the 1, 2, 7, 8 guys in the lineup were on base guys, and the guys in between were kind of power guys, and we wanted guys at the top of the lineup to get on. Starling Marte, Kutch, these guys that we wanted them to run. We hit and ran a lot. When I went to the Mets and was there for 2 years, the conversations we were literally having were like, we want you to hit doubles, homers, and walk. You know what I mean? Like, get on base, let's try to score runs, as efficiently as we can. We're not going to hit and run. We're not going to bunt. We're not going to do any of that stuff. We want to figure out ways to score the most amount of runs with the least amount of hits, essentially. And that's kind of the trajectory the game has gone in the last, 5, 6, 7 years. So that evolution somewhat started around there, but it was something that was definitely different and a different mindset. But at the same time, you're thinking to yourself like, okay, so I'm getting in the box and I'm hunting fastballs, I'm hunting balls up in the zone, and I'm looking to do damage. Where your mindset, if I'm hitting the 2-hole in front of Andrew McCutchen in the Pirates lineup, I was being a little more selective. I might be taking the 1-0 strike that may have been right down the middle, or the 2-1 fastball that I probably could have done something with because it was borderline and might have been a ball. So there really hasn't been any of that since I left the Pirates, and that's what made us so good, was that we were dynamic enough to do that. But we had guys like Pedro Alvarez that were hitting 30 homers. We had Andrew that was an MVP caliber. So we were super dynamic. Now you look around the league. There's more teams that are teetering on the side of like Powerball and try to score runs, wait for the 3-run homer and that type of thing. So that was kind of the end of that certain style of baseball on the offensive side per se.
Do you think, was it sort of the same approach, not the Pirates approach, but like the Mets approach when you were with the Yankees with like Stanton, Judge, Sanchez?
Oh yeah.
Just hit the ball over the fence at all times.
Yeah, I mean, and you got to remember that especially that ballpark can play really small, especially to right center, right field. So
so it benefited you.
Yeah, it helped lefties, but at the same time, surprisingly, it helped the righties out a lot, especially the ones that we had, because guys like Judge and Stanton, they really hit the ball well to right center field. So
yeah, that's right.
Between Didi Gregorius and Stanton and Judge and Gary Sanchez, they were so. I mean, I think up until last year, the Twins, that was the year that I was there, was the most home runs that any team has ever hit in the big leagues. So, but it was
every year it seems like it's been getting better, better and better.
Right, going up and up and up, and strikeouts are going up and up. So it's a catch-22 per se, because I think that championships are still won by pitching and defense and efficiently scoring runs and whatnot. And a lot of times you don't see the teams with the huge home run numbers winning championships, because you run into a pitching staff like the Astros had last year. They can shut you down in a 7-game series or a 5-game series. But it seems like that's kind of it's still going to be the trend for the foreseeable future.
It's crazy to hear just how that works. The different approaches, different teams. It kind of fits the type of player that you may be and puts you in a position to have success on a certain team. Similar to kind of Moneyball with the Athletics back in the 2003. They were forming kind of their formula.
Right.
Next question. Kind of want to get on the mental side of the game, kind of being able about the mental preparation, because having the privilege to hit with you in the off season, that's one thing I learned from you, was you go into a game with a plan. Kind of wanted to see, when did that start with you? Did you always kind of at a young age having a good approach and have a plan, or at what time, I guess, did it go from see ball, hit ball to have an approach and have a plan?
Yeah, I mean, for most of my young career and youth career, and even uh, well through my minor league years, and even the first couple years into the big leagues, I had a somewhat of a what I would consider a broad approach at the plate. I knew what I did well. I wasn't real in tune with my swing, but I had good hands. I had good hand-eye coordination. I made solid contact. I was good about getting the barrel to the ball and through the zone consistently. And then I got to the big leagues and realized, you have to everybody knows your weaknesses. These pitchers know every single weakness. That these pitchers know if you're an early swinger. These pitchers know when you do your damage.
That's crazy,
and
man.
they're gonna do everything they can to expose you. And as a hitter, you have to figure out a way to combat that. And I'd say probably by about my third year in the big leagues, when I was kind of, because I felt like my first couple years, and I think a lot of people can attest to it, is like you're just trying to survive for the most part. You're trying to get settled in. You're trying to prove yourself day in and day out. You're trying to help the team win, but you're also like know how hard it took to get there, and know there's guys creeping over your shoulder if you're not performing. So it's a very interesting time, those first couple years in the big leagues, and then when you feel like you get settled and all of a sudden maybe like for myself, I kind of won that job after my second year in the big leagues at second base, and it was kind of like, this is basically yours to lose per se. That's when I kind of started to formulate my approach on a daily basis and really kind of get more narrow with my focus on the things that I needed to do, and not try to survive as much as like, I need to take this next step. And for me, that was learning tendencies on pitchers, and obviously the physical side of it, making sure you're getting your workouts in and taking care of your body and things like that. But for me, it was, okay, I'm going to dive in. I'm going to treat every day like it's day one of 162. And when I come to the ballpark, I'm going to have this checklist. And when I get there, I'm going to get my clothes on. I might go get something to eat. Then I might go to the training room if I have something to work on, and then the weight room, and then to the cage, and then come back and then get my BP stuff on. And then when I come back and get ready for the game, I'm going to go dive into some video and look at that night's starter and take a look at his last couple starts, take a look at his numbers, take a look at what he's been doing, and maybe some pitches that he's been relying on. Are there any numbers that in counts that pop out to me that tell me, you know what, this is what he likes to throw in his 2-1 count to get him back into counts, and he feels really confident throwing this slider 1-0, 2-1, or a changeup 0-0 or 1-0 or whatever, to kind of formulate my approach. And when I would do that, and that focus was a little more narrow, it helped me go into a game with a much clearer mindset, to where I knew when I stepped in that box with the first pitch, my first at bat, and whether I got 1 at bat, 2 at bats, 3 against that starter, I was fully prepared. And if I was going to go down, if I was going to strike out 3 times, or if I was going to hit three missiles, I was going to try to carry out my approach as closely as I felt was necessary to how I felt was going to be most successful against him. And sometimes it worked and sometimes it didn't, but I kind of owned that, and I kind of ran with it. And I really felt like that was what helped me take the next level as an offensive player in the big leagues. And, that was something that I had learned from guys before me, Ryan Doumit, Jack Wilson, some of these guys that were in the big leagues right before me, was, take every bit of information that you can, and you don't have to use it all, but take things that work for you, and whatever that may be, trust in it and dive into it and believe in it, even if other people may not have the same beliefs as you, because that's that conviction that you take into the game and take into your work and your preparation, and is only going to help you. Because if you're going out there and just going, oh man, I hope this guy throws me a fastball one of these first 2 pitches, like, yeah, you may get it, you may get that, and you may hit it, but you guys know how baseball is. Like, a lot of times you may get it, and it may just not be in a great spot, and it may be a tough fastball in a tough location, and all of a sudden you're going, oh crap, I missed my pitch, and 2 pitches later you're sitting down, or you just hit a crappy ground ball to second base. So I've always tried to tell that to players, and it's hard to really convey, but that narrowing that focus on not only things that you can control, but things that you believe that make you the best player you can be, are super important to a player's development and ultimately how to get the most out of your abilities.
100%, man. That's some of the best advice I think anyone can listen to, any level of baseball, and especially in the major leagues, because pitchers are too good, honestly, as you can attest to. Because if you go in blind, it's going to be too hard, you know.
Right. Yeah. Totally. And that's like I said, it's hard to convey really that type of information until you're in it, and you know, for a lot of people that just watch the game on TV and whatnot, you're going, how did he not swing at that fastball? You know what I mean? And you're looking up and it's 97 with sinking movement. And you're like,
right.
Well, when you're standing in the box, it looks a lot different.
100%. Something I wanted to ask you, over the past 15 years, basically, the game's changed a lot to where you, for someone like you come into the league where technology in baseball and technology in hitting and pitching wasn't really a thing, maybe the very start of it. Sure. And now it's so big, you know, with all the TrackMans, the Hit Tracks, the Rapsodos, the K-Vests, the whatever, you know. Is there still that group of guys, maybe more so your age, that are kind of like, I don't want to deal with it? And, you know, what do you think about all that?
Yeah, you know, I think that there's a crowd, and I'm 34, so I think that there's somewhat of a crowd, and it's not 100%, but you can kind of tell when you go into the locker room who the 30, 31, 32 plus
right.
year olds are, and who the 29, 28 and younger crowd are, and a lot of times those guys, and a lot of those guys that are 29 and under, they probably were coming from programs that were adopting these new technologies, and the fly ball era, and exit velocity, you know, being obsessed with exit velocity and launch angle and all that.
Yeah.
And that stuff's great. And it can be very useful, but at the same time, you know, there are so many different elements to hitting and so many different aspects that I think it's so much more individual. It should be so much more individualized across the board. And, you know, like I said, the 31 and above crowd, it was kind of like you just need to do what you need to do in the box to consistently hit barrels. And now it's like, okay, these young guys come in and you watch them take BP or hit the cage, and all you see is just balls at the top of just balls up, balls up, balls up. And you know what? It could work for a lot of guys. I mean, I played with Aaron Judge. Aaron Judge is one of the biggest, strongest human beings on the planet, and he knows, and he kind of adopts that fly ball mentality.
Just get it up in the air.
He knows if he makes contact, his chance of a ball being absolutely destroyed, or whether it's just making over the fence or being an absolute bomb, they're pretty good. This guy might be able to hit 60, 70 homers in a season. But that same mindset's not necessarily going to work for somebody that's 5'7", 165 pounds, that's paid to get on base. You know what I mean? So it's an interesting conversation, one that we could probably have for hours and hours. But you're right. You know, I certainly don't turn my nose up to any information. Like I said, I love all the information and I'll take it and use it. But at the same time, my philosophy has always been do what I need to do and what I feel is right to be on time and to barrel balls up as much as I can and simplify hitting as much as I can. And that's helped me to this point in my career. And I think that trying to reverse track and do things completely opposite would probably be unbeneficial for me right now. But there's no telling what direction this thing, you know, this mentality might go. Is it going to continue to go that direction? Is it going to kind of come down a little bit and we're going to start trying to get guys to hit more line drives because pitching just is going to continue to get better? But I understand it all. I understand all the information and all the things that we're giving guys. But it's certainly, everything feeds into the new era. The home runs are up and the strikeouts are up. And when you're trying to get guys to hit balls in the upswing, there's going to be holes. There's going to be holes at the top of the zone, and that's what we're seeing. Pitchers are trying to throw four seamers at the top of the zone and breaking balls at the bottom, and hitters are trying to hit mistakes in the air and less on a line. So it's an amazing debate.
Yeah. No, I think one of the biggest things that you said within is the aspect of feeling something, because at the end of the day, when you're in the box and you foul a ball off, if you can't feel what you did right to wrong, then good luck on the next pitch, because you don't have a device right behind you relaying, hey, your angle was here, your angle was here. You got to have a point where you're able to feel what's right to wrong rather than trusting a machine 24/7.
Right, and ultimately, when you're in the game, you're your own best teacher. You know what I mean? And we could have the best hitting guys in the world, and they can help you get there, but they're not going to stand in the box with you, and mom and dad's not going to stand in the box with you. So, that's something that accountability is something that I really try to convey to young kids, and not necessarily the college kids, but or the pro guys, but the high schoolers that are kind of trying to find their way. When you feel something, don't be afraid to ask why, and don't be afraid to dive into why this feels this way or it doesn't, and figure out how you can get the most out of your abilities the quickest way, because that might be your best opportunity to get yourself a scholarship or to be seen or whatever the case may be.
Yeah,
exactly.
Absolutely. Finish it up here. One last question. We'll have a fun little game here. Take you down memory lane with some historic home runs. Some might be yourself. Some might be some other person, other people. So,
but you've been a part of all of them.
Okay.
Yeah, you've been a part of all of them in some way. So we'll start with the most recent one. I'll give you the date. Let's see if you can remember. All right. August 28th, 2018.
Was that a walk-off against the Chicago White Sox in New York?
It was.
You got it.
I don't know the exact date, but I knew that it was in August sometime. Yeah,
it was walk-off pinch hit home run. If I'm correct with that, right?
Came off the bench, and the guy was facing had a really good two-seamer, really good, and he liked to throw a lot of the lefties in and bring it back and kind of freeze you. And I said I'm not stepping in there and taking this. If he throws me this pitch, I'm sucking my hands in and I'm barreling this thing. And I got him sucked in just enough to hit the barrel and get it in the air, and the game was over.
That's awesome, dude.
Yeah. All right. Well, second one, June 1st, 2010.
June 1st, 2010. Oh man.
If my calculations are correct.
Yeah, that had to be my very first homer, right?
Yep.
That was in PNC Park against Ted Lilly.
Ted Lilly, yeah.
Hit it kind of in the notch in left center field, and I'm pretty sure I think it was the bottom of the 8th, and we were down 1 run, and there was a guy on base, so it ended up being the walk-off homer. My favorite part of that was not even a baseball part of it. We were going through a tough stretch, and obviously our year wasn't great that year, but we were going through a tough stretch right around there. And one of the veteran guys said, all right, every single player has to not shave his mustache for the next 3 weeks or until we won like 4 games in a row or something. So every picture I have from that night, like after the game, and, I did an interview and got somebody smashed a pie in my face or something, and I just have this stash. It does not suit me. It does not look good. But when I think about that day, I literally, that's the first thing I think about, all the pictures I have from that day.
That's too funny.
That is funny.
2 for 2. Keep it rolling here.
Okay.
Third one, May 7th, 2016.
Oh, May 7th, 2016. That would have been when my first year with the Mets.
Yeah.
I didn't hit a grand slam, and it definitely wasn't my first home run.
I'll give you a hint. It wasn't you.
Oh, okay. May 7th. Oh, wait, was that Bartolo Colon's home run?
Got it.
Bartolo, what was that like? What was seeing Bartolo finally get one?
So we're in San Diego, and you guys know how it is when the pitcher comes up and there's 2 outs or 1 out in the early part of the game, and you're just like, all right, just hit your weak ground ball or take your strikeout, and let's try to score next.
Yeah.
And he comes up and he James Shields, I think it was, throws him a cookie, and he just wails away on it, and he hit it, and everybody just went bananas. And I was in the dugout, and guys were like, we got to do something. and everybody's like, leave the dugout. Everybody leave the dugout. So he comes back in, and there's like one guy standing. I think David Wright was like the only guy standing there giving high
I
fives.
remember watching.
Now everybody's gone. But, you know, I can always say that I was there. That's going to be like I was there. Where were you?
Right.
When Big Six
That's
hit
right.
his only home run.
So you know somebody that was there that day.
Oh,
That's
awesome.
right, man.
Well, thanks, Neil. We appreciate you hopping on. It's been
You
an
got
honor
it.
Yeah,
to
man.
have
Thanks,
you on.
man.
No problem. Anytime I can be on with you guys, I'm more than happy to do it. And good luck with all the endeavors, and look forward to spending some more time with you guys down the road.
Thank you, and good luck this year once you get
Sure,
going,
man.
man.
Thank you, guys.
Tuning in. See you, Neil.
All right, guys. Be well.